Welcome back to the Restoring Darkness Foundation. I'm Michael Colligan, the host, and I represent the Lighting in Darkness Foundation. And we are a group of lighting companies that have come together to help mitigate light pollution and light trespass. You can find our work at restoringdarkness.com. And I'm joined by my co-host as well, Mark Baker from the Soft Lights Foundation. And his recent petition to the FDA was rejected, but it got a lot of action, Mark, and you should be encouraged. Don't get discouraged. That was a great petition, and we're going to keep working away at making exterior light at night more responsible. On today's show, we're joined by the children's book author, Jessica Stremer. She is an award-winning author who combines her love of science and writing to create books that inspire kids to explore and think critically about the world around them. Her titles include Great Carrier Reef and Lights Out, a movement to help migrating birds, and Fire Escape, how animals and plants survive wildfires. Jessica obtained a BS in biology with an emphasis on ecology from the University of Wisconsin at Oshkosh. Jessica received honorable mention for the SCBWI 2021 Ann Whitford Paul Award. Took first place for her nonfiction entry in the 2021 Rate Your Story writing competition, and received honorable mention for her entries in 2021, 22, and 2023 50 Precious Words writing competition. When not writing, Jessica loves spending her time outdoors with her family and rewilding her yard. Jessica Stremer, welcome to the Restoring Darkness podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Jessica, hi, it's nice to meet you. Well, we'll start off by asking about your book. I understand that you've written a children's book called Lights Out, and it was just published in March of 2024. What motivated you to write such a book?
Yeah, the book originally started out as a story about all different types of challenges that birds encounter during migration. And in sharing it with my agent, we had a conversation, and she recommended pulling that back a little bit and just focusing on one danger. So we could kind of dive into that, and it was maybe that one avenue was more engaging for kids. And she lives in Texas, where the Lights Out movement is really popular. And I had personally never heard of the Lights Out movement before. And so after she'd mentioned it, I started doing some research, and instantly I knew that that was a good storyline to pursue. I could see clearly, kind of how to introduce this to young readers. And I was really excited because for me, it leaves them feeling this feeling of being empowered and, a small action that they can do. And so I knew, that I wanted to pursue that storyline. And it went through some rounds of revisions. We found an editor that really liked the story and polished it. And Bonnie Pang is the illustrator. And I was really excited to see how that came out. And so, it's been out since March of this year now.
Wow. So, were you aware of the light pollution issue before you started to write the story, or did that sort of that came out and now you know more about light pollution?
I was definitely aware of it, but not on the scale that I am now. I knew, obviously living in the city, we love to go camping and hiking. And so our favorite places is to go out to Joshua Tree and just, sneak out of the tent at night when the kids are sleeping and be able to stargaze and see everything that we really couldn't see in the city. So I was aware of light pollution, and I was aware, especially for turtles hatching on the beaches, and the way light pollution can affect them. But I had really not known much about light pollution in birds, so I was excited to kind of dive deeper and do some research into that topic.
Wow, that's interesting. So you've opened up a whole new world. So in your research, then did you speak to anybody in Texas, I guess, or anywhere else, I guess, about this?
Yeah, so actually, in my research, I was able to come in contact with the director of FLAP Canada, and they do a lot of work on helping to prevent bird strikes. And I learned that the Lights Out movement really originated up there, and I wanted to find out how that movement had spread. And the gentleman had told me that it was a lot of the action of children and their teachers, writing letters, drawing pictures about the Lights Up movement and about bird strikes, and sharing that information with local businesses and city leaders. And so I wanted to make sure that I highlighted that in the book and help kids see that how they, a small way that they can make a big difference. So that was kind of where I started with my research on learning, the involvement of children.
And do kids care about the little birds a lot? Like, is there, do they have like the nests, and you're showing them sort of in a way that garners empathy and sympathy for them from children? Like, tell me a little bit about what you did to make the kids like the birds and want to help them.
Yeah. So in the book, it starts with a flock of sparrows that are migrating south and for the winter. And as they're traveling across the farm fields, they're heading towards a city, and the light pollution kind of interferes with their migration. And there's a spread in the book where then the sparrows kind of get trapped in the city with all the lights and the windows and the buildings. And come morning, most of the sparrows have been able to kind of leave the city and keep going, but one of them is injured and left behind. And we see kind of the helping hands of a young girl scoop up the sparrow, and she takes it to a wildlife rehabilitation facility. And it's there that she reads a pamphlet and kind of sees different ways that what she can do to help with the birds. And we wanted to make sure that we were presenting that information in a way that kids could digest without being didactic, without, in their face spelling it out of what they needed to do. So again, kind of showing kids that they have the power and they have an opportunity to help.
This Flap Canada, I haven't heard before. What kind of work do they do? And do they work with the light pollution issue?
Yeah, I think they do a lot for bird strikes. Songbirds are one of the, birds that, I guess songbird species are birds that have a larger number of strikes just because of their migration patterns. And so they work with companies to help understand the importance of, keeping your exterior lights off or installing the proper types of exterior lights. And then also during the daytime, what buildings can do to help prevent bird strikes, whether it's reflective glass or different netting or different things, window clings, things like that, to try and help encourage businesses. But yes, I know that they do a lot to advocate for the proper kind of outdoor lighting. And they found that, and I remember this from my research, they found that they were seeing less bird strikes in some of these big cities when the big towering businesses would actually turn off, their lights. There's no need to leave the office lights on all night long. There's nobody there, but for whatever reason, a lot of them would. And when they were able to spread the word and let these people know, hey, we're finding less birds on the sidewalk on the buildings that are off at night versus the ones that stay lit up all night. And so I think that's a lot of what kind of helped them have that aha moment of, hey, let's turn off the lights.
Yeah, Mark, what's interesting about this issue, Mark is a recently new co-host to the Restoring Darkness podcast, but this is exterior light becoming light pollution in the exterior. So I believe it's the light that's on the inside, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jessica, but it's light that's emanating from the inside at night that causes the birds to become disoriented and swerve toward the building and fly into the glass. Is that correct?
Yeah, because even though it's indoor lighting, it's escaping, it's coming outside through the windows.
But unlike bugs,
brighter.
They're not attracted to street lights and all that. They're flying into buildings because the lights are left on inside the buildings, which is a different kind of light pollution, which is interesting.
Yeah, and then a lot of it has to do with the reflectiveness of the glass too. Birds not able to tell that they're flying into a window. It reflects and they think they're maybe flying in. They have more space than what they do.
So you're telling people to shut off their lights, and maybe you should go on another production we have here called the Lighting Controls Podcast, which would help people do that really simply and easily. What suggestions did you give the kids to do with respect to, kind of urging the adults in the room to move forward with the lighting controls and get things turned off? What did you advise them to do? Or not in a non-didactic way. In a non-didactic way.
Yeah, there is a whole section of the back matter that explains more about light pollution. And again, I think I had a lot of adults tell me that they had no idea about this either. So I think picture books can be great for readers of all ages. You don't have to be a kid or have children to enjoy reading picture books, and there's still a lot to learn, especially in the nonfiction world. The books that are coming out are so much different than, what we read 20 years ago. And so the back matter is really designed to help support what the kids are reading in the primary story of the book. And so, creating window clings, encouraging them to draw their curtains at night. We understand you're going to be at home and you're going to have the TV on or have your lights on, then just close the curtains, close the blinds. Encouraging your parents to shut off the outdoor lights just by, flipping a switch. The kids can do those kind of things. And then, of course, drawing pictures and writing letters to people in their community to help, use their voices. They're small, they're kids, but their voices can have a big impact. And so, of course, then the parents need to help be willing to send those letters in. There's also a section in the back that talks about the importance of birds. So it's kind of a well picture of this even matters. Why reducing light pollution is so important.
It's interesting that one of the biggest barriers that we have yet to overcome is escaping the metaphor. And so a lot of people, when you say light pollution to them, they think that it's a metaphor, that it's not really pollution, but it's just a way to help people understand that they should turn their lights off. And I think what your book is doing is showing people the damage caused by real pollution, one of which is light at night. And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think more and more people are becoming aware of this, which is great. And just, it's such a simple thing that people can do. Turn off the lights. And switching to,
turn off the lights.
Go ahead. Yeah, or switching. And there is a section in the book that does talk about downcast lighting or choosing the proper lighting, because you hear a lot about adults who are afraid. They want to keep their lights on around their house at night. They think that it's going to make them safer. They think that, that they need all these lights surrounding their property. Okay, fine. Then switch the type of lighting that you're using so that it's environmentally friendly.
Wow, that's a big deal. So this fear of the dark, we've talked about this before on this show. This drives a lot of the light pollution, and we've encountered that many times with neighbor-to-neighbor disputes. Got to have that light on. I don't feel safe without that light on. And the other side says, yeah, but you're not using it. Well, it scares away the criminals. Well, we had a guest on recently that told us, well, actually, it doesn't really do that. So did you do any research on that aspect, that sort of fear that we have, but is it really solved by putting horrible lights out?
Research into the fear itself, no, but research over the necessity of having lights on in the evening, I did do some research on that, yeah. And again, it's not necessary. The use of timers is so easy, because we live out in the country, and so we like to have our lights on to a certain point if we're coming or going at a certain time of night, and then they're off. We're sleeping. There's no need. When my husband was in the service and I was, home alone with the kids for how many months, people say, leave your porch lights on. I didn't feel that I needed to. I really wasn't that worried. And, another aspect of that is the predator-prey relationship. And so I think this will come back to like a primal fear that we have as people that, we need the lights on, but we don't. And actually, for all the wildlife that are out there doing their thing while we're sleeping, it's easier for predators to hunt with the lights off, and it's easier for prey to hide with the lights off. So we're also helping the environment, not just the birds and turtles who are maybe trying to find a way to the ocean, but even just the basic predator-prey relationship, in your neighborhoods or in your backyards, the benefits from having those lights off at night.
I'm going to say something. The producer's going to get me. Oh, no, we have a different producer today, so he always gets me in trouble when I say this. But exterior light at night is neither the cause nor the solution to any type of criminality. That's what the research tells us. But I think if I could sum up Mark's entire work in one sentence, it would be, you shouldn't be afraid of the dark, but you should be afraid of the light. That's a fair summary, Mark, of what the Soft Lights Foundation does?
I haven't heard that one before, Michael, that you just came up with that. I got to think about that, whether it sounds all right so far. I got to think about that.
So where we're going, though, is still we're in this transition process, Jessica, and I think your book really helps with this problem we have, which is that people assume that there's no harm to this, and there's a ton of harm to all living things on the earth, from exterior particularly really bad exterior electric light at night. Have you done any book readings? Have you done anything in person where the children have been able to interact with you and then talk about their concerns or what they learned from the book?
Yeah, I've done a couple in-person readings and a couple school visits. The kids all like hearing more about the birds, and okay, and we talk about what to do if they find injured wildlife. They love discussing the animals in the books. But I think my opinion is that every child that can read a book like mine or any other nonfiction book, you're in the door, you're planting those seeds. And so um, it might be something that resonates with them. We might be able to plant those seeds, and the ability to care about the world that we live in and make those changes, we might be able to grab them now and get these kids, and maybe they'll be ones that grow into helping us continue to find solutions, to work for a better future. And maybe they'll continue to bug their parents about, making these changes like, hey, mom, dad, we read this in the book, and remember, we're supposed to do this. So I think it's all about, and again, just helping to kind of spread the word and starting small with these little people who have this whole life before them to make some really great changes.
One of the things that I notice and that is absent, so I've interviewed several children's book authors on this topic, and most of them involve birds or turtles, and that's great. But they've all seemed to have omitted one of the most important parts, and that is the awe-inspiring view that children can have from seeing skies filled with stars at night. And I think there's a little bit of room there, Jessica, for someone to maybe write a book about the awe-inspiring nature of the cosmos that we can get when we eliminate light pollution. Will you consider writing that book next for us?
Yeah, I'll think, because there are some that are out there, and I'm trying to think. Jason Chen is an author, I think. I'm really, really bad. Like, I can read it and then I'll check it out again, or I'll get it. I'm like, oh, I know I've read this before. So I think he has one that is about the universe and the stars and just kind of the awe of it all. But yeah, there's always room for more in the market. Like, fiction these days for kids is just booming, and we've got some really awesome storytellers. But yes, like, I do have a book about space that not so much just about stars, but I do have a book about space that I would love to someday get in the hands of readers. Again, there's just so much, and if we can plant the seeds and kind of help open those doors, you don't know what kid you're going to grab and what they're going to do with it.
Well, we have a lot of people that are certainly excited about things like SpaceX and all that, but that have never seen a beautiful night full of stars. And maybe we should start, before we start going up there. Maybe we should start seeing what's up there first from down here. Jessica, where can people find your book? And do you have any final thoughts for the Restoring Darkness listeners?
Yeah, I have a website. It's www.jessicastremer.com. And my books can be purchased anywhere that books are found, so Amazon and Target and Barnes & Nobles and all that. I have Lights Out is out right now, and by the end of June, I will have How Animals and Plants Survive Wildfires. And last year, I had Great Carrier Reef, and there's more on the horizon. And last parting thoughts, I would say, again, just continue to share, continue to talk about it, continue to be open, to people and hearing both sides. Read books, read picture books, read middle grade books, again, because you're never too old to stop learning, never too young to be introduced to even complex topics like light pollution. So, and just, if everybody continues to do their part, pull the curtains, change your lights, together we can make a difference.
Amen. And we found a new tagline for the Soft Lights Foundation. You shouldn't fear the dark, you should fear the light. And we'd like to invite you right now to check out Jessica's books online. Maybe buy a couple if you have some kids. Maybe buy some for yourself. Children's books are not always for kids. Sometimes they're actually for adults. And the site that Jessica mentioned during the show was flap.org. That's FLAP.org if you want to check them out. And of course, you can go to restoringdarkness.com and you can donate towards the work of the Lighting in Darkness Foundation. And I'm sure you can throw a couple pennies over to Mark over at Soft Lights Foundation, who's doing lots of good work on his end. So you go to softlights.org, and we will thank Jessica Stremer for being a guest on the Restoring Darkness podcast. Thanks to all you listening out there. Bye for now.